Chapter 14, the one we're in here, it also has language in it that in a similar way parallels something that we read about in Exodus 33 and 34. And these are the similarities. It's really kind of a beautiful thing. In Exodus 33, Moses approaches God and he says, God, I want to see your glory. Like, I want to see you. I want to know you. I want you to reveal yourself to me in a powerful way. And so God says to Moses, I'm going to do this, but here's what you're going to do. I'm going to hide you in the cleft of a rock. I'm going to kind of shove your face down in the dirt. And then I'm going to pass by you. Like, my glory is going to pass by you. It's going to pass you by. The same language that Mark uses to describe Jesus when he passes by the boat. He says, I'm going to pass by you. And then when you read about this happening, the Lord reveals himself to Moses and he says, this is who I am. I am the Lord. Now, I know you probably didn't bring a Greek New Testament with you this evening, but when we come to Matthew chapter 14 and Jesus is walking by the disciples and they cry out, he says, take heart, it is I, do not be afraid. But if you actually look at the Greek language, and instead of saying it is I, he says ego eimi. That's the Greek word, ego eimi. He says, take heart, ego eimi. Ego eimi is translated literally, I am. It's one of the names of God. It's one of the names that God uses to say, like, before everything was, I am. Jesus in this moment, he's passing by the disciples. He's revealing his glory to them. And then when they call out to him, he says, I am, I am. I am the creator of the storm that you sit in. I am the creator of this universe in which you find yourself. Jesus is saying, this is who I am. You are seeing me in all of my glory, and it is in circumstances that you never would have imagined. See, for them, they probably thought it'd be a really great worship service at Summit Church on a Sunday night. Like, that's when we're going to see the glory of God. But in the middle of a storm, in the middle of these sorts of circumstances, so I don't know the specific storm that you're facing. Some of our storms are really obvious. They're really simple to ask people to pray for. You know, sometimes we lose jobs and we have relationships that just blow apart, and we have financial problems. And sometimes, like, we have just situations that take place. And then some of those things are really easy just to put on a piece of paper or to tell a group of people and say, man, would you pray for me? I'm walking through this storm. Others of us, maybe it's not that forward to identify. Maybe it's not that clear and it's more nuanced. And for some of us, maybe it's just emotional things. Maybe there's anxiety that we deal with, or maybe there's depression or sadness that we're wrestling with. Maybe they're just these questions like, do I really believe these things, and do I lean into them, or do I just sort of like muddle my way through life? And so we wrestle with our experience. It doesn't matter if it's obvious or if it's nuanced. The point is, all of us are in storms, like all of us. Everybody in this room, like nobody gets to live a storm-free existence. Like that does not exist in the world today. And what if the place that we are in, whatever storm we find ourselves in, is the place where we will see Jesus in all of his glory? Not when he calms the storm, but before he calms the storm. I mean, what if, despite our thinking that if Jesus is Jesus, we'd have smooth sailing, he unconventionally meets us in the middle of that weird tension, those moments when we feel anxious and we feel sad and we don't know what to do and we are frustrated? What if in those moments when our anger is boiling up inside of us or our nervousness is seeping out of our pores, what if it's right in the middle of that moment that we actually see Jesus for who he is? I love this moment where Peter calls out to Jesus to save him. You know, he's sinking, and hey, Jesus, save me. I love this because, do you notice that Jesus, he doesn't tractor beam Peter out of the water. He doesn't use the force. It's not like, okay, and kind of raises him up and levitates and pulls him towards him. Do you notice in the story that Jesus reaches down? He reaches down and he takes his hand. Like there's this relational intimacy that Jesus exhibits towards Peter. He could rescue him any way. I mean, the God of the universe who created everything, including the storm and the seas that they're in, he could have chosen any way to save Peter, and yet he reaches down and he touches him in the middle of this. I think that just tells us something about who God is, that we have this God that has all this power and this might, and instead of just snapping his finger in our circumstances and making everything smooth and fixing it all, he says, no, I'm going to step into humanity, and I'm going to live a life that you would never have the opportunity to live, and I'm going to die the death you probably should be dying. But the reason that